We're rolling. Timer starts now. Mark. Hi, I'm Ford.
And I'm Sky. And these are not our real names. These are our superhero names, and with our powers combined, we formed the writing partnership L. Skyford. Welcome to Booklandia.
Today, we're going to review a book, most likely a romance. But before we get much further, did you know you can watch our faces do this episode by subscribing to us on Twitch at L. Skyford or YouTube at L.Skyford? You should really do it. We give good face.
And sometimes there's a dog bomb at Ford's house.
This is true. For our other socials, you can follow us on Twitter at SkyfordL, on Instagram at L.Skyford. And if you're interested in our book, blog, or even more book reviews, head over to our website, lskyford.com.
Lastly, this and every episode are chock full of oversharing and spoilers, and every episode is rated E for explicit. You have been warned.
Hello.
Hello.
It's been, as you often say, 1,000 forevers.
It has been 1,000 forevers, to the point where I've forgotten how to set us up, how to record. I'm having a technical difficulty moment, so I'm gonna apologize. I'm just gonna put that out there. I'm not gonna apologize. I'm just gonna say that technologically things are. Today we are talking about Here With Me by Samantha Young. But before we get to that, how are you?
Mm-hmm. I'm doing pretty good. I'm crazy hella busy. And on top of like working 2 jobs for the time being, one of my friends is moving. And this friend that is moving, now I've told you so much, you're going to be able to figure out which friend I'm talking about. But this friend is leaving, but as soon as she figured out she's getting this new job, she started hooking up with someone at work. And she has said to me about this hookup that it's like he has my manual, which translates to me into your favorite trope, it's never been this good. And I wanted you to know that apparently that's a real life thing. That happens in real life.
Well, I am very glad for the friend because it's good when it's good. And yeah. I'm glad that there was no like awkward period because there's not really a lot of time for that awkward period to be there. Good for them. Yay on getting laid is what I have to say.
For sure. Like all kinds of, super excited because, she's been in a dry spell too. So it's good all around. I'm happy for her. And that's a real life trope. We can put that in our pockets. Bag of trick. Okay, let's move on away from this. How are you?
I'm good. I am excited. We're back to this. I have so much to say about this book that we're reviewing, and it is a fascinating something to say because I give this book 3 stars. Sorry, I'm jumping all the way to hot take right away.
Let's do it. Yeah.
So the thing that is interesting to me though is that I have so many feels about this book. And the lukewarm review, like the lukewarm likes of it. All right, let's start with the cover and a little bit about the book itself. So here is the cover. It actually took me a bit to figure out all the bits of it. So it's a loch, right? It's a little bit of a river or an inlet with some mountains at sunset. And a man and a woman on top of that who are superimposed on that, and they are in the rain. We know they're in the rain. So this is one of those books that actually has a cover of a thing that really happened in the book. They get drenched in the rain more than once. So props to the design team on that. So the book is called Here With Me by Samantha Young. This is the first in a series, and the series is called the Adair Family series. You
might know Samantha Young's previous book, Much Ado About You, which we loved and thought was really fun.
Or On Dublin Street, which is a series of her that is really popular in the suspense romance world. She also has some supernatural books in a series that we have not read. Yes, supernatural romance stuff, which is how I came to find Samantha Young in the first place. And then Like I said, there was I think I talked about it in a different episode that I read on Dublin Street, and I kept waiting for the supernatural thing to happen because
Yeah.
that's who I thought Samantha Young was as a writer. So I kept reading on Dublin Street, being like, where are the werewolves or vampires or whatever is going to, and it never happens because there are no werewolves or vampires in that series. That's not what it's about at all. And so my first impression of that series was a little lukewarm as well, because just wasn't what my brain was set out to read. That isn't the case here. I knew what I was getting myself into, but I will get into that in a second. Let's first do our 30-second what this book was about recap.
Excellent.
I know you wrote this, but would you like to read it?
Sure. Happy to.
All right. So I am going to count you in.
Okay.
All right.
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, time.
Robin goes to Scotland to attempt to reconnect with her absent/personal bodyguard father, only to find him tracking an escalating stalker. Lachlan, retired action movie star and subject of said stalker, runs a private getaway for other rich artists and is fecking pissed that someone inside his circle is violating the safety and security of his home/business. Since Robin is an ex-cop, she can't stay away from the case, and also the movie star who rankles her at every turn. Booyah!
Yes, you made it with 1 second to spare. A second to spare.
Pretty much.
So I kind of wanted you to read this because I read it and I was like, there's no way I'm getting all these words out of my mouth in time. That's not happening.
As I wrote it, I was like, write out the slashes, I was very conscientiously writing it out.
Oh, that's good thinking. That is good thinking. So it came out on May 11th.
Yes.
Of this year. So it's a recent release. Yay. Congrats on that.
It's another suspenseful romance. So it's very different from Much Ado About You, which has been my only Samantha Young previous read. So, and it's kind of my first suspenseful romance as well. So lots to talk about. Would you like to start?
Sure. So, sorry, my first question is aggressively like down the line in the plot. So, there are, so one of the things that we know about these characters is that, so Lachlan, it has an ex-lover named Lucy who is also one of his closest friends now. So they're best friends. They no longer have a romantic relationship. When they parted ways, they did so on amicable terms. So they talked to each other about everything. My question is actually something that I've brought up before again, and it's something that really rankles me in romance in particular, and it comes up in this one. So at one point, there's a threat on Lucy's life. She's safe. She gets rescued, and for the next several days, Lachlan feels really responsible for the attack on her and spends a lot of time on her. And all of this culminates in Robin walking into his room to find Lucy on the bed, lounging, and they're hanging out and they're eating snacks and they're watching reruns of a comedy show.
She is in a silky negligee.
She is in a silky negligee. Now, here's where my entire premise for my ire falls. So I was very irate about this until I got to the twist in the book. And then I was like, okay. But my ire maintains itself on the emotional spiral that happens here. So Robin walks in, she witnesses this, she storms out, and at some point a little bit later, her and Lachlan have a confrontation in which she declares that no woman is allowed to be on his bed, even in a friend capacity, as long as he's seeing her. And so my question really is, exes can be friends? That's the question. Do you think exes in a romance can be friends? Because that, like, the implication that people cannot evolve beyond their sexual needs was really not like I don't agree. I think we can
Sure.
absolutely evolve beyond our sexual needs, and there are people out there who are sexually compatible but choose not to pursue that relationship, but platonically remain each other's support system, and
Mm-hmm.
that got torn down. And that's my question here: is do we have to destroy those relationships?
So uh as you ask these questions, I'm like, I really want to answer this in a very specific way, but you're asking a very broad question. So I'm going to attempt to answer your very broad question, and then, of course, all my specifics because I am me. Broad question answers. I absolutely believe that cishet friendships, even if they were, even if there were whatever feelings at one point, inklings, can be platonic and be sustainably platonic. Um, in this moment in the book, and I think the twist really helps inform that, but I read into that Robin was sensing something she wasn't aware of. And like I said, I think if Lucy was laying on the bed in a pair of jeans and like a frumpy t-shirt, the moment would have been different. But since she was wearing a silky like negligee, that meant something. It also meant something that Lachlan had paid Robin zero attention for 7 previous days. So there's a lot of build up to that moment. And then her confrontation was setting some boundaries. So I'm not going to fault anybody for setting some boundaries of no woman on my bed. It also reminds me of like being a teenager, and whenever like some cute boy would sit on your bed at a party and you're just like, oh my, emotions, hormones. I don't know. Like that beds have symbols. It has symbolism to people. I don't know. Um yeah, I think that's my answer.
Okay.
Great.
No, that's great. I think that I think that platonic friendships between people who used to be sexually involved is something that makes a lot of sense to me emotionally. Like, you've already committed a lot of yourself to this person, and so
Sure.
to stay friends with them, especially if you part amicably, makes a lot of sense. And it's something I have not seen this portrayed. Like, it's ex-lovers
Mm-hmm.
as a jealousy device are used very frequently, and I want to see not just that, but also the inverse, and I haven't yet. And so when this moment happened, I was like, there
True.
was such a great opportunity here to really reinforce the she is now his best friend moment. And that isn't what happened. And
Right.
again, there's a twist. We'll get to it in a sec. And the twist informs this particular book's version of it. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
them's the things they bring up. All right, tell me your
Yeah.
question.
Okay. Um. So this book had a lot of men victimizing men assaulting women, both in Robin's past, in a lot of the characters' past. And there was some of the characters had very negative self blame language. There's a lot of like victim blaming language that was really hard for me, as someone who has experienced violence, in a relationship, is very hard for me to process and read through. Um, for example, I have a quote. I laughed at him and said he was pathetic. That was the wrong thing to do. So this is a woman who got punched in the face by her ex. Like that's some dark layered bullshit. And then it also during the book, Robin was almost assaulted by one of the members of this club, and she decides not to call the police and not to press charges on this guy because it would be too expensive. Her name would be publicized. It would be dragged through the mud. Paparazzi would hound her, and she didn't want to deal with that. Like I guess I want to talk about how even though Robin is this badass, like she like flipped this guy over and like she hurt him in some way. I forget what she did, but like even though she's physically a badass, she cannot take this guy on and end it in a conclusionary way because of the broken systems of justice. And I guess I just wanted to point out that systems be broken and it makes me crazy. Did you have any feelings about like how the assaults happened and how they informed characters and these moments?
Totally agree on the systems. My counter question for you would be: do you so the response er, er, Aerodan Arrow, right? Her
Arakar.
Erikar, there we
Yeah.
go. Her response that I laughed at him and that wasn't the it was the wrong thing to do. That's very
Mm-hmm.
common. So I
Mm-hmm.
wonder if writing women that say that it showcases that there is like a collective mentality that's been bred into the
Mm-hmm.
system
I
for
mean,
us. And I
yes.
wonder if there is value in saying what she said, but then also exposing it for what it is, for the built in misogyny that is in the system. And that piece of it wasn't there. And the same
Well,
is true
in
with a
that
lot of it.
moment, Lachlan runs off to save her. Like a lot of the assault moments, Lachlan solves, which is not feminist. It's just
No,
like he has a savior complex, which I found to be a really big problem through this book. And that was his character arc, is like kind of getting through his savior complex, but like it didn't do anything for the female characters.
no. One of the things that I found really hard to connect with for these characters, partially, was the fact that I feel like all of these characters are the same. They have the same
Mm-hmm.
previous trauma or really similar previous trauma, and they have the same way of resolving that trauma. And it's just copy and paste it over people's names and previous histories. It I
Mm-hmm.
don't mean to say that it wasn't well crafted. It was. It's a lot of
Right.
it's a very large cast of characters that's weaved really smoothly together. But
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the reasons I had such a hard time connecting to this book is because they all, every single one of them, suffers from the same trauma, and maybe that's the point, that's the sentiment, but I
Mm.
don't know that it got resolved in any way. We don't even know what happened to Aradine, right? It's a story of
Arakar.
no,
Arakar.
no, sorry, what is the name of the yoga teacher?
Oh, I don't remember. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, we don't know yet, which makes me believe that she's one of the next books for sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, or we at least get more of
Somehow.
her story. Yeah.
Yeah.
um
Yeah. Right. And so I think about, there's these four sort of women. There's Robin, and there's Erikar, and there's the yoga teacher, and there's Lucy, and all of them have suffered some sort of assault at the hands of men. And when really the current statistic is that 1 in 4 women suffer assault at the hands of a partner. Um, but here we have 4 in 4. I think maybe that's the point. That could be
Right.
a
And
very
then there's
interesting comment.
also some trauma that is in the past with the
Mm-hmm.
aunt that commits suicide. Like there's a
Yeah,
basically women are
family
victims.
generational.
All the
Yeah,
women are victims. It's actually one of my
yeah,
questions further on.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Um okay, so this sort of ties into the previous thing. Robin decides uh around the black moment of the book that she is going to, once she's done with this investigation, she's going to go traveling around the world to see more of the world, both for her photography business and because that's something that she's always wanted to do. When she goes back home to Boston, she even starts to budget for that, and then Lachlan shows back up and she moves in with him instead. How do you feel?
Well, we never get that she doesn't go on these trips, but it's about her choosing where her home is, right? Um, yes, not seeing that or not having that resolution to her future. Yeah, it's a loose string worth tucking. I think you're definitely right. Um, but you gotta, like, it's still a romance. The lovers still have to end up together, and why not in a Scottish castle?
I have no objection to the Scottish castle. I have no objection to the fact that there is now a separate workspace that they've built for her.
Mm-hmm.
What I was hoping for is a more I want to say adult way of handling it, insofar as, like, it would have been great if she said, I'm still gonna travel, but I'm always gonna come home to you. And
Yeah,
there's a little bit of
yeah.
an implication that they might travel together once the trial is
Mm-hmm.
over. but there isn't really an autonomy to her that existed throughout the book until this moment.
Right.
And then she gives up that autonomy for his sake. And that is like what I really wanted to hear her say is, you have your thing, I have my thing, but when we're not doing our things, we are a couple and we're strong enough to be that. And that didn't happen. Yeah. Instead, she said, I'm going to put my thing on hold because I need to go hang out in your bed.
Sure. And then when I'm ready to pick my thing up, you're going to come with me.
Right. You're going to leave your thing behind for mine.
Yeah.
And I think to me that like adult relationships have more complexity than that. And so I think maybe I just craved a lot of that because there are so many heavy themes in this that I sort of expected a less than lighthearted happy ending. And so on balance, it didn't work out for me.
Cool. Yep. Look, here's my question, and it's not really a question, but Scottish men, am I right? Look, I get my number one. I'm so embarrassed. I shouldn't be embarrassed. My number one celebrity crush is Sam Heughan from Outlander. So Scottish men
Ooh.
are my catnip. So this was a little catnippy for me.
I had a hard time casting. Yeah. So in my head, I had a hard time casting Lachlan, and it sort of gets into my next question a little bit. So I had a hard time figuring out what he looks like. So ultimately, I kept having the like, is he my dad? And then and then it didn't work out because obviously that isn't something that matters to me in a sexual way. But
that brings it up because we haven't brought it up, is that Lachlan is an older man. It's not quite a May-December, but I'd say it's like a May-August, a May-September romance.
This is my next question. And my question is, did Samantha Young write a taboo romance, but figured a way around it not being so young that it's inappropriate?
So I'm going to push back against the phraseology of taboo romance because love is love and they're both consenting adults. And I think it's maybe just, I have a hard time with May-December romances personally, but I know that is probably an implicit bias that has been baked into me from, I don't know, Disney movies or some bullshit. And my personal preferences. I know I want to be with someone around my age. That's a personal thing. So I'm going to say it's not taboo because, like, please define taboo.
Well, I think traditionally in publishing, taboo romances are like 18-year-old and 40-year-old, or even more significantly separated by age. So like a significant age difference. Or something like
in this book, she's 28 and he's 38.
She's 28,
like
he's
that, right?
38, so it really isn't that big a deal. Or like one of the other defining factors of taboo is like he is my father's best friend, and I'm sleeping with him.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that is part of the story. So and right, my significant other and I have 9 years between us. So we've I can't really call that taboo at all because we're adult in every adult way. It's totally fine.
Right. We're all peers at this point.
Exactly. Yeah. The 10-year difference doesn't really feel like a significant thing, but so what I had a hard time with is that we met these two mid-career men who are in their early 40s. Well, one of them is 38, but like the implications that they're like mid-career, early 40s. This is a second career for one of them. And then we meet Robin, who is one of their daughter. And she is now seeing the best friend of the dad.
Sure.
And so in my head, like I could not get out of dad. I could not let that go. And so this is, I think, where from a sexual standpoint, this did not work for me because it kept being like, dad.
I think what made it not taboo for me is the fact that Mac, her father, was like, "Yeah, go, be happy. Like, I don't want to hear about it, but like, this is not a problem. If he fucks you up, I'll fuck him up." Like, there were still healthy bound. Like, the dad didn't make it feel taboo.
No, not
That
at all.
helped.
Mac is actually a really great and emotionally available character, all like across this entire
Yeah,
storyline. So the way that
yeah.
Mac communicates is actually really wonderful, and
Mm-hmm.
should be the case. In fact, both him and Seth, the other father figure, are very communicative and very open emotionally. And I think are the most stable members of this entire cast.
Sure, sure. So for my final question, do you want to talk about policing in America or heteronormative language?
I think I would like heteronormative language for 100, please, and then we will do policing in America after the break.
Okay, great. Excellent. So, I know you really hate heteronormative language, having co-written a book with you, and you're like, what are you doing? This is this is so heteronormative, I gagged. I'm like, okay, copy that, delete, delete, delete. And especially the like never been this good trope, which anyway, we've talked about earlier. Okay, so here are some quotes from this book. It was as if he had a key to my sexuality. How do you feel about that quote?
Hard pass.
Okay, great, 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 great. Also, what about some of this sex blocking? He was sucking on her nipples, but also she could feel the throbbing against her stomach. How tall is he? Like 3'5"?
So no, I think they were sitting for this, or she was in his lap. So this
I
kind
thought
of
they were laying down.
oh, okay. This kind of made sense in my head that like if she's in his
Okay,
lap,
okay.
then
Mm,
then the blocking worked out. In terms of he has the key to my sexuality, there is some
yeah.
language in this that I want to address, and it is all it feels very heteropresumptive. Firstly, he doesn't have the key to your sexuality. He has the key to your libido,
Mm,
to your sexual
mm,
drive in this. Like that's
yeah.
words are words. Please use them
Words
carefully.
are.
And there are a couple of other things that I kind of want to bring up in this same topic. So one of the
Yeah.
other bodyguards that we're introduced to who works at the castle is named Jock. And
Mm,
Jock has an introductory conversation with Robin in which Jock reveals to her that he is parenting a toddler with his husband. And in that conversation, Robin finds out that he's a parent of a toddler, and he says, "Oh, is your wife at home with the toddler?" To which Jock replies, "No, it's my husband." And she says, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have assumed wife." And then in her inner thoughts, it says, "I wonder how hard it was for him to admit that he was gay." And I want to make it really clear on behalf of the LGBTQ community out there, he isn't necessarily gay, right? Just he had
yeah.
a partner who identifies as female. He has a partner who is a man. It does not mean he's gay. He might be
Mm-hmm.
bi. He might be a person who's just into this other person. He like that sentence made me really not okay. You like the character just apologized for making an assumption about someone's sexuality and then immediately made an assumption about their sexuality a second time.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Just don't assume things about people. Don't do it. So
You know
yeah,
nothing, Jon Snow all the way down.
Jon Snow is the best way, particularly for a police investigator.
Yeah.
So it was just such a weird moment because she just apologized for an assumption of his sexuality, followed by an assumption of his sexuality. No.
And
Yeah,
I think that's a thing that we're working on as society right now is breaking apart binary thinking And this is just a little bit of, there's some still implicit things that you read in books like this. So
yes. There's one more. Well, no, there's a couple more, but there's one more that I want to bring up. Towards the end of the book, when Robin goes back home,
wait. Do we want to take a break and come back to talk about this language?
We can. I mean, it's part of your heteronormative question, but we can definitely post break it, so it's totally fine.
Okay, come back for more heteronormativity smashing.
Yes, please.
Intermission right here. When we come back, we're going to break down our favorite moment from the book.
And discuss our ratings and if this book made us want to get naked.
Please enjoy this message from one of our friends in the podcasting world. Hello. We're back. We're talking about Here With Me by Samantha Young and smashing some heteronormativity. The floor is yours.
Oh, wait. Well, thank you. So what I was saying before the break is one of the other things that happens, Robin comes back home to Boston to reconcile with her mother. And as they're hanging out on a park bench, or as they're walking around the park, there's a descriptor in there that Robin assigns to her mother that says that that her mother is not like her. She is more feminine. The most exercise she would get is a walk around the park. And again, I think that there's a really weird misconception here where athletic women can be feminine and women who are not athletic do not implicitly have to be more feminine. In like, this descriptor was so bizarre. And I was like, yes, you work out more than your mother, but that is in no way connected to the amount of presentational femininity you put out in the world.
But you can't work out when you're wearing a dress all the time.
Disagree. I can do whatever I want. Men in kilts can throw trees. That's
very true. Can we talk more about men in kilts?
I really can't. I mean, that's not as much my jam as yours, but you are welcome to go down that rabbit hole. We should, one of these days, when the world is back to normal, go to the Scottish Games, and then I feel like maybe I'd know what's happening.
That's a thing?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm going to go now, and I'll be back when I'm done.
Sounds good.
Okay. Yeah. Look, as someone who is like slowly taking little steps and little scooches into androgyny, like femininity and definitions of gender and displays of gender are the most frustrating things in the world, because it's all society based and in my personal opinion, and so like the fact that Robin wears pants and never wears dresses defines her as not being fully, like, 100% feminine, and that comes with connotations from all angles of. I don't have a fully formed thought other than I hate it, and I stand with you on this horrible rock. And our flag has like a girly muscle arm, and there we go.
Yeah. So yes, I just wanted to put it out there that you can do whatever you want to do. The descriptors are not right. Like, there are no descriptors in column A that are counter to the descriptors in column B. That's not real.
Right. As a quasi-androgynous person who really hates working out, I definitely don't fit in Robin's columns.
Exactly. So
there we go.
So please know that the columns are not real. They don't exist.
Yeah.
All right. There is one more. So I want to bring up the very last of. No, you know what? I have two more things, and I'm gonna wait on them.
Okay.
So hot take. Right? No, most compelling moment is next. Sorry, I need to look at the script before I like throw stuff out. So tell me the most compelling moment for you.
So in the in the resolution of the black moment, sorry, frog, Robin says something that so fighting against all of this heteronormativity talk, she says something that I think was really powerful, and I thought I said it was movie worthy. Like, you definitely see this in the romance version of the movie, and it says, "But don't stay if I'm just another warm body to you. Stay because only my body will do. Stay because you need it to be me." And so it's about the person, not about, the gender or the whatever. Like, that really spoke to the characters' connection between each other, and not, I don't know, the man-woman connection between them. That felt very just like romancy. I don't know. I dug it. I was here for it. I highlighted it in my Kindle.
Nice.
Yeah. How about you?
For me, the most compelling moment is actually the twist.
Yeah, that was very good.
It was a very good twist.
So, spoilers, like, just skip ahead a few minutes while we talk about this if you don't want to know the twist.
Right. Yes, this is going to be the most spoilery bit of the entire episode. But I did not see it coming until after the shot was fired. Oh no.
Yeah.
Are you okay? Just water down the wrong pipe?
Dr. Pepper's doing me wrong.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm here after the shot was fired.
After the shot was fired, like, I did not see it at all. I was completely blindsided. I love when that happens in suspense, where I did not, like, it was not telegraphed to me beforehand. It was very out of left. It wasn't out of left field. Like, once it's revealed and you trace back through, you're like, oh yeah, all of this lines up. But so it wasn't out of left field, but it was really well concealed. And I like, that is my favorite part. And I want to know.
It was very well crafted.
Very well crafted. No, I agree. Very well crafted. I want to know who, like, in your head, did you have a celebrity who was Lucy?
Yes, but before I give you my celebrity, well, I didn't, but I do now. As someone who works with actors, the whole book, I was kind of like, I kept everything a little spaced, because I'm like, I don't know what is performative, because sometimes there are just actors out there who are always performative. When you see them, their public persona is on. So I didn't see the twist ending coming, but I did suspect at one point, because everybody was a suspect. I should have just said that. I suspected everybody. Okay, so my casting for Lucy, I guess we even haven't said that what the twist ending is, but it involves
So you didn't
Lucy.
really have to. Yeah. It involves Lucy. So you didn't actually have to skip ahead.
If you've gotten to this part in your skip ahead, you can skip back, because we didn't actually give it away.
Perfect.
So my casting is now, I'm going to cast, oh fudge buckets, what is her name? The gal from Ocean's 8. That's not going to help you because they're all women.
Right. Julia Roberts?
That played Ocean's 12, the one with all the women.
Okay, yes.
The new Ocean's movie. The one who was the actress wearing the jewelry. What's her name?
Hathaway.
Anne
Hathaway. Yeah. Ooh, very okay. Anne Hathaway was on my list too. My Lucy was also a brunette, and I was thinking Julia Roberts, also in the Oceans franchise, so very similar vibes. And it's because Julia Roberts was described as America's sweetheart, and that's
that's also why Anne Hathaway feels more Lucy age appropriate, because Lucy is like a 20-something.
Oh,
actress.
True. Yes, agreed.
In this same vein, I think we were talking about who was Lachlan. I didn't have a picture when I was reading the book, but very much now. Everybody watches how I don't remember names, because I'm terrible at names. The actor from The Fall. This is my super weakness.
Dorian.
Nope. It's not, but you're close. It starts with a D.
He's also from 50 Shades of Grey. Someone at us
Yes.
about this, or we'll just
Yes.
Google it after this episode.
Jamie Dornan.
Jamie
Dornan.
I was close.
Yeah, you were very close. Yes, who is, he's from Belfast, so,
Yes.
so that's Irish. He's not Scottish, but, you know, it's a brogue.
Interesting.
They both have the brogue.
Yeah, I did not, he's so, I guess I needed a broader actor. He's a runner, like his physique
but
is
action star.
True. Yeah, I had a hard time. With
is
this.
The big guy. Yeah.
Agreed. So yeah, so this leads me to my hot take, which for me,
yeah.
Hot take, and then whether or not this book made me want to get naked. My hot take on this is that all of the characters had the same trauma or really similar trauma, and so it was hard for me to relate to all of them. I think if I were there is not a happy character in this whole book. There is not one person who has a joyful existence, and that added to all of the gray gloom and the rain. I had a hard time finding the joy and the happiness in this. And then we've sort of already addressed my daddy issues with whether or not I found this naked or not. I did not.
I would like to counter your no one is happy with Morag the sandwich maker.
No, that's the person. If you go to our website and you read my review of the book, that's what I said in the review, is that Morag the sandwich maker is the only person with possibly a happy life. And then also the Chinese restaurant owners. That's it.
Yeah.
That's everyone.
Though one has to assume that being an Asian person in a white country probably has its own problems. Cool. My hot take is it was pretty good for my first romantic suspense. I would read more. I'm interested to see what the subgenre is like. So if you have a favorite romantic suspense, please come at us, because I'm interested in some more. But contrary to you, Sky, this did get me hot. You know how we've talked about how the Scots do it for me. I did get naked, and I have the rug burns to prove it. So there you go.
Well, that's nice.
Thank you. I mean, no, the rug burns are miserable. They're terrible, and I hate them. But the parts the delivery of the rug burns, not so bad.
The delivering rug burns every day. That is a slogan waiting to happen.
Oh no, the double entendre of that is also not great. We can't put that on a shirt.
Nope, that would be too many questions.
Yep, so many questions. Okay, so since we have a little bit of time left, do we want to finish up with those last random topics? Just do a little bit of a catch-all.
Sure. So I have two things, and then I know you want to address policing in America. I feel like is not going to be a short hot take, but so there's a moment at which Robin. So I really had a lot of issues, I guess, with Robin's inner monologue, but there's a moment in which Robin codifies all of the traits that she got from her mom and all of the traits that she got from her dad. And at some point she says, I am really Max. I am his daughter. And I know that there are people out there who absolutely feel themselves aligned with one biological parent or the other, or with one adoptive parent or the other. But I just want to make it really clear again that you are the sum of your own parts. And that some of those parts might hearken to your parentage. You don't have to be just like them, right? Just because you have someone's eyes or someone's physique or someone's penchant for travel or sleuthing out things. But it was so cut and dry that I was like, that's not how biology works, or genealogy or nurture or any of it.
Yes, you just said it. It is a nature versus nurture debate, and she's giving you the nature side, and you're like, bitch, give me the nurture side.
Well, immediately following that, she tells Seth how important he's been in her life as a parent figure after having declared that she is not his in no uncertain terms. And it was heartbreaking for me because I think Seth is one of the healthiest characters and one that supports her unconditionally in a parental way that you want to see your parents do. And so to be like, I am Mac's daughter, I was like, cool, you're also Seth's daughter.
Yeah.
So that was a weird for me. I don't know why it was a weird.
Yeah.
Okay. And then lastly, again, Robin's thought, this is something that Arakar says, that she says it to Lachlan after Robin leaves. And she says, she doesn't believe in words. She believes that actions speak louder than words. And actions speak louder than words is a thing that's come up a lot. Here is what I have to say about that on behalf of all the timid people out there. Sometimes words are words. Right? Sometimes words speak louder than actions because people are afraid to act on things until they have verbal confirmation, because people are waiting to set boundaries before they do something. I realize that in a romance, there's an expectation of a grand gesture. And if you know me, you know that I do not like grand gestures, given or received. I like I like emotional and verbal consent. I like a big gesture, a gesture we decide on together. I do not like a big gesture that slaps me on the side of. I hate surprises. Yeah. And so I think the idea of actions speak louder than words really needs to be recodified into something that has consent built into it. And to me, if you do something and expect a particular reaction, I don't know, that feels invasive. And I guess I'm really hot for boundaries, and I'm really hot for consent.
That's the t-shirt. I'm really hot for boundaries.
In case you guys are wondering, there's a Patreon page. We make merch. Most of it is t-shirts. We've come up with what to put on those t-shirts during the episodes.
During this episode, and this episode only. Also, words are as loud as actions is maybe the new hot slang. Words plus actions. Yeah, because I mean, we could go down a whole rabbit hole about language in law regarding sexual assault and how in some states women have to fight off their attacker for it to be considered a rape, and instead of no is not enough. So I'm with you that words have to matter. Words matter. Actions matter too, but yeah, words matter. But also, love languages matter. How you're showing up to people. Okay, so I don't need to go down that tangent. Okay, are we ready to talk about policing in America? Let's just end on this real high note about policing in America. So, Robin used to be a cop. She's a cop in the beginning of the book. She gets shot. She stops being a cop. She quits. Because it's not really her passion. Photography is her passion. She is at one point speaking to her old partner about his new partner. And this is what she has to say about this new cop. Well, it's not a new cop. It's a cop she's known. I had no doubt he'd screw up so badly he'd lose his job. So she knows that they both know that there's a cop walking around out there and they describe him as being like the cock of the walk type of guy. Like he's the biggest badass. He sits at the top of his own pyramid. And that just read to me as that's the type of cop who shoots somebody, who shoots a black person in this country. And so I went and I looked up what kinds of things get cops fired. And the main thing is you have to break the law and get caught doing it. So a cop gets fired for breaking the law. So things like that are murder, theft, all kinds of these things that you can get criminally charged for. And then the other options are you're involved in a lawsuit that costs your department so much money that they don't want to keep you around anymore. So again, you've done something horrible enough that you've been part of a lawsuit, and it's just like unfathomable to me what a cop has to do to get fired.
Yeah, it was brought up and left out on the porch, and then like nothing happened with it, and maybe it comes up again in the next book or something, which would be a stretch, honestly, but maybe that's what happens. But so to me, so that I mean, there's a conversation about gladiator cops, right? Ones that behave in this macho way, and this cop is described in the way that I would put in that category. By the way, not a positive comment about policing to describe them as gladiators. So yeah,
on either side, because gladiators were slaves. Like, even really, from that standpoint,
really terrible on all fronts, honestly. But I do, I either wish that there was, that we addressed that comment in another book, or I wonder why that was brought up. And I do think that the conversation needs to happen about policing in America. It maybe doesn't fit into this book about policing in Scotland, that there are some comments about the detective inspectors in Scotland and how they're not very effective either. Less commentary about them in terms of police brutality, but there is a comment about the fact that their effectiveness is so negligible that she, an American ex-cop, has to stay to solve this stalker because the DIs will not do it.
Yeah. It's just she just left it out there. She just flung that dead fish right onto our porch, and then we have to just like smell the stink the whole time. So, yeah, it definitely incited a conversation, I guess. So if you have thoughts about cops and policing, I guess now you know that I believe in reform. And de-escalation practices.
De-escalation practices, reform, and funding mental health facilities.
Mental health, yeah, everything.
Training
and especially
and everything.
And, mandatory mental health evaluations for cops. That's all the things. That's all I have to say on that subject.
All right. Well, in that case, I'm going to try and wrap us up with something like slightly more romance and slightly less very serious. I don't want to joke about police brutality. That is not a joke. I very much appreciate that conversation came up.
We're not here fixing. We're not here fisting, but we're not here fixing systemic issues.
We are also not fisting. We're just going to talk about fisting instead. We're just going to talk about fisting instead. It's going to be amazing. All right. So next week is a mini-sode. Join us for that. In case you don't know what tropes mean, like I don't, it will probably not be taboo romance because we haven't recorded that one yet, but it will be some trope that we will try to define. If there are books out there that we haven't reviewed that you're like, you should really talk about this, add us.
For sure. I'm here for it. I read books.
Same. All right. Have a great one.
You too. Bye, everybody. So are you, dear audience human, gonna pick up this book now that you've heard our review? Let us know in the comments. Have a suggestion for another review? Slide on into our DMs.
If you like this adventure in books or updates on our upcoming projects, please follow, like, save, subscribe, rate, review us on Instagram at l.skyford, on Twitch at lskyford, and on Twitter at skyfordl. Phew. I'm Sky.
And I'm Ford. That's it for this episode. We will see you next time on Booklandia, where every book is a whole world to explore. And we're out.